Thanks for joining us for this Beneath the Bible video. We know the Bible can be hard to understand and complicated to sort out all the different issues and questions that you may have as you're reading it for yourself and trying to interpret it. So what we're wanting to do in this series is just to provide some background information, some context, and some helpful resources for you to interpret the Bible. So here's what we want you to know before you read. The book of Obadiah is considered one of the 12 minor prophets. Now, these books are called minor because of their length, not because they aren't important. Obadiah is the shortest book in the Old Testament at only 21 verses. In the Hebrew canon, it's part of the 12 and is grouped with the Nevi'im, or prophets. The book takes the form of an oracle against the nation of Edom. The Edomites occupied the land south and southeast of Judah. The land of Edom was a rocky desert landscape, and this terrain is alluded to in verses 3 and 4. The Edomites were traditionally understood as descendants of Esau, while the Israelites, including the Judahites, were the descendants of Jacob. This meant that the Edomites and the Judahites were, in theory, distantly related. In Obadiah, the Edomites are condemned for their violence. In verse 10, their violence against God's people, and they're warned that their downfall is coming because of their aggression against their brothers. In the context of the ancient world, it was likely believed that the act of stating the utterance would enact the content of the saying on those named in the oracle. A study on performative utterances at Ugarit demonstrates a belief that divine language was self-enacting, meaning that what the gods say comes to be true. This doesn't extend to human or other non-divine actors, however. So while the Ugaritic literature is far removed from the setting and composition of Obadiah, there are some interesting parallels with how we read and understand the prophets, and especially the prophetic oracles like Obadiah. Verse 1 states that this book is the vision of Obadiah, so it was presumably written by a prophet named Obadiah. This name means servant of Yah or servant of Yahweh. The title servant seems to be used for prophets, so it's possible that this isn't the name of a specific prophet, but a title for a prophet, or even an archetypal prophet, a figure whose prophecies represented an ideal form of the genre. Now, this latter possibility is plausible because there are at least 12 different Obadiahs mentioned in the Bible. There have been numerous efforts to link this book to one of those named figures. Notably, the rabbinic tradition identifies the book's author as King Ahab's palace official, citing 2 Kings 18. Now, these candidates for authorship all have varying degrees of merit, and which theory you believe, if any, largely depends on when you think the book was written and what its original context is. We'll turn to those questions now. The time period when Obadiah was written isn't really clear from the text. And like we said, it can depend on who you think the author is. The introduction is very short, simply saying the vision of Obadiah. The word vision in Hebrew is hazon, which elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible refers to a prophetic collection. Now, it could mean something received, or a vision, or a dream. Or it could be more generally referring to a collection of prophetic revelations. The name is simply given as Obadiah, with no other identifying information like what we get in many other prophetic books. Now, this may indicate that the audience knew who the author was, but it may also point to the fact that this vision was written down soon after it was given. Now, if this is the case, the vision, whatever or however it was received, was written down and didn't circulate in oral or another written form. And so the time of composition may reasonably be put within the prophet's lifetime, which again would mean we would have to know who the author was in order to know when the text was written. Now, this could create a problem of sort of circular reasoning. We have to know when the book was written to know who the author was, and we have to know who the author was to know when the book was written. However, looking at the content of the book can help us know the setting of both the prophet and the prophecy. Verses 11 through 14 offer our best context clue for dating the book of Obadiah. These verses seem to indicate that the Judahites have suffered a loss that the Edomites either helped bring about or that they at least benefited from. Scholars have identified two possible events that could fit this scenario. The first and the less likely setting is the reign of Jehoram, or Joram, king of Judah. This is roughly 849 to 842 BC. During Jehoram's reign, the Edomites were vassals of Judah, meaning they had sworn loyalty to Judah in exchange for Judah's protection. They rebelled and the Judahite army was defeated, resulting in independence for Edom. However, there is no indication that the Edomites attacked into the territory of Judah itself, which is an event that the text of Obadiah indicates. The more likely context is sometime in the mid-6th century BC. This time period has been suggested for a couple of reasons. The first is the fall of Jerusalem to the Babylonians in 586 BC, which would fit the textual clues in Obadiah that Judah has suffered some negative fate. Now, historically, we know that the Edomites didn't face the same destruction at the hands of the Neo-Babylonian Empire as the Judahites did. So that would mean they would have been around to antagonize the remaining Judahites, as the text indicates. Second, the text of Obadiah has striking similarities to Jeremiah 49, verses 7 to 22. Now, this could suggest that either Jeremiah knew Obadiah's work and drew on it for its own composition, or that Obadiah drew on Jeremiah's work. Some scholars suggest that there's no interdependence here, with neither book drawing on the other, but that each author was familiar with another source that's now lost to us. This could still suggest on textual grounds that Jeremiah and Obadiah are near contemporaries, living sometime in the early to mid-6th century BC. The textual evidence and the contextual evidence lead us to understand Obadiah as a mid-6th century composition, condemning the Edomites in the wake of the destruction of Jerusalem. Thanks for joining us for this Beneath the Bible video. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos. If you learned something new today, be sure to take a minute and share this video with your friends. And until next time, keep digging.